Well, we're about a month away from the NFL draft as the offseason continues. The Minnesota Vikings, in the meantime, the last couple of days, they've lost out on a former player signing elsewhere. And Anthony Barr, the New York Jets organization, they're not happy with the way that Anthony Barr did it in about face on them. We'll talk about that. This is Realistic Randy, Mediokr Best Sports Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. His podcast that you're watching right now on YouTube is powered by Score North. So real quick, George Iloka, former Vikings player, is signing with the Dallas Cowboys. My reaction to that is I really don't have a reaction to that because if you remember, this is Zimmer's guy. This is Mike Zimmer's guy, formerly played at Cincinnati, and you're thinking to yourself, worst case scenario, if Andrew Sendejo, and actually before I even get into that, we were thinking when he got signed, and during the offseason, it's great when you have really nothing to talk about, especially like, let's say you're doing a podcast or this show or something like that, and then you sign somebody and it's like, oh, okay, he's formerly Zimmer's guy, and he's going to come in and 3 safety sets, and all the imagination can just run wild. He's going to put something together, damn it. And we really didn't see any of that. But worst case scenario, I was saying to myself anyway, if Andrew Sendejo, or God forbid, if Harrison Smith were to go down, George Iloka, Zimmer's guy, has the inside track to take over from there. And that just didn't happen whatsoever. Much like Brett Jones, you were just saying to yourself, why isn't this dude on the field now? To Zimmer's credit, I guess if you want to even give him that, Anthony Harris shined. All right, Anthony Harris, he's the clear safety opposite of Harrison Smith moving forward. So it worked out just fine. But it was like, why did you bring in George Iloka if you're not going to play him? And it's crazy because I'm looking at the snap count for the Vikings in 2018 on Pro Football Reference. And of all the safeties that the Vikings had on the roster, George Iloka got the least amount of snaps. You got Andrew Sendejo. He missed however many games. He was out for most of the year. He played 324 snaps. J-Ron Curse played 202. Anthony Harris, the clear favorite moving forward, played 623. Harrison Smith, obviously, 1,024. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And George Iloka, he played 116 snaps. Most of the work that he did, most of the playing time and the snap counts that he got was on special teams. So it's just like I don't really have a reaction because I just wanted to see more out of him. But Anthony Harris, he stepped in and he did just fine. I wish him all the best, but it's just more like, why did you sign him if he wasn't going to be a real contributor to this team? So anyway, moving forward from that, wish him all the best. Anthony Barr. Now that we all know the story, he left it. He agreed verbally to join the Jets during the legal tampering period before signing. And instead of signing with the Jets, he did an about-face and joined the Minnesota Vikings. To that, the Jets CEO, Christopher Johnson, was asked about that, I guess, from the media. Jets CEO Christopher Johnson, he said in response to Anthony Barr, how do you feel about it? Quote, we want people on our team who want to be New York Jets. Not everybody wants to be in New York. If he didn't want to be here, that's fine. It's disappointing when someone backs out on an agreement, but we want people who are all in. Now, before I even respond to this, as far as, the Jets, they're, I guess, a little bit salty that Anthony Barr is going elsewhere. Everybody knows how I feel about Anthony Barr. I've said all that I've had to say about Anthony Barr. All right, now, this theme for me this offseason and going into 2019 is I'm just going to sit back and let everything all play out. Everybody that came after me, you don't understand football. You don't know football. You don't understand how great Anthony Barr is. That's a you problem. All right, cool. No, I'm going to sit back and let it play out. But if he looks great, fantastic. I will be the first person to admit that I was wrong. But if he slips up and he has a bad stretch like he did last year, then I'll talk about it. But anyway, move forward from that. I don't hate Anthony Barr. Actually, to my credit, his rookie year, I thought that Anthony Barr was going to be the tone setter for this defense. This defense was already going to be pretty good anyway with Harrison Smith and Xavier Rhodes, Everson Griffin, and, eventually they would sign Linval Joseph. Okay, fine. The defense was already going to be pretty good, especially with Mike Zimmer leading it. But with Anthony Barr, his rookie year, I was a huge fan of Anthony Barr, especially his rookie year. I compare Anthony Barr, his rookie year, to Ed Reed. Basically, Ed Reed at the linebacker position. You remember Ed Reed, prime Ed Reed? Or I'll even take it to another degree. Sean Taylor. I grew up in the D.C. area, so I watched Sean Taylor, all right? Ed Reed and Sean Taylor, what made them so great was no matter where the ball was, they always flew to the football. No matter who, running backs, receivers, whatever it was, they were going after that football no matter what. And Anthony Barr was that same guy, except at the linebacker position where it's like sideline to sideline. You always had to worry about this dude instilled fear. I'm talking about just ruthlessness, fear, toughness. What a tough dude that dude was his rookie year. And I was like, man, if you add this player, this high-profile, fast player that can make big hits and get after the quarterback, this dude is going to be something special. My gripe with Anthony Barr has been his motor. Unfortunately for me, in my opinion, I would say maybe even his second year, you consider that a little bit. I think it was still a down year compared to his rookie year. He was still pretty good his second year, his sophomore season, but we haven't seen that really for the last 3 years. That's really my gripe with Anthony Barr. I'll tell you what, if Anthony Barr, I don't think that he's worth, let's see, he's getting paid. Right now, he's on make average of $13.5 million per year, but really it's the cap hit that matters. So in 2019, the cap hit $5.6 million. Great. I don't think that Anthony Barr is worth $12.7 million against the cap in 2020 or $15.5 million against the cap in 2021. Another $15.5 against the cap in 2022 and $18 million against the cap in 2023. Okay, now the Vikings do have an out in 2021, so we'll have to see. I don't think that he's worth that, but if Anthony Barr is going to be great and if he's going to live up to that contract, what's really frustrating for me is that Anthony Barr, his energy, when he shows it, the rest of the team, the rest of the defense, they feed off of it. He actually makes players around him better when he's fully engaged, and we just haven't seen that in 3 years. If he can channel that, much like we say for Andrew Wiggins the last couple of years, if he can channel that, then this defense will be spectacular. And I'll be the first to admit that I was wrong. And not even that I was wrong, because I really do think the last 3 years he was coasting and not giving his all. But as far as I will be the first to admit that Anthony Barr is kicking ass in 2019. I'll be the first one to do it, damn it. But this isn't about how I feel about Anthony Barr. I'm actually going to stick up for Anthony Barr in this segment, in this situation, as far as the Jets CEO Christopher Johnson going after the Anthony Barr. Now you see this right here. You see this little framework right here. That is the championship memorabilia frame, whatever you want to call it, for my Dallas Mavericks. So for those that don't know, I am a Dallas Mavericks fan when it comes to basketball. I don't talk about the Dallas Mavericks because you guys don't really give a damn about them, and that's absolutely fine. But the reason why I point to that and bring that up is about 4 years ago, the Dallas Mavericks, they were going after DeAndre Jordan when he was with the LA Clippers. This was when he was first a free agent. Not last year when he signed with the Mavericks, the time before that. So this was about 4 years ago, I want to say. So Dallas Mavericks, they go after DeAndre Jordan. He decides he verbally commits, much like Anthony Barr. I'm going to join the Dallas Mavericks. And I was thrilled. I was like, yes. Oh, and I went up to, I think it's called like Bear Valley up in Northern California, up to a cabin. It was like 4th of July weekend. I remember it. Cookouts, had some steaks, and I was just enjoying it, having some drinks. I'm good. I'm living an easy life. We got DeAndre Jordan. It's great. 4th of July weekend. Oh, I can enjoy it. I get back to work that Monday, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, DeAndre Jordan, he changes his mind. He's going back to the LA Clippers. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Are you serious? And I was frustrated. I was furious. And so I get it if you're a Jets fan. Well, if you're a Jets fan that's mad that you didn't get Anthony Barr, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But I get it as far as you're mad because you invested your fandom into this player that's going to come to your team, and all of a sudden he backs out of it, so you're mad. So I can't really say anything to the fans. But this is bigger than that. If you're Anthony Barr, you have to do what's best for you. This is a league, the NFL, for as much as they screw players over all the time, because he said, and going back to Chris Johnson, what he said, okay, if he didn't want to be here, quote, if he didn't want to be here, that's fine. It's disappointing when someone backs out on an agreement, but we want people who are all in. How many times throughout whatever team in the National Football League are the players, they sign, they're all in, and they get cut the next day. Or they get cut, or they suffer some injury, and they get tossed aside from their team like they're chopped liver. And it's completely unfair. So when it comes to NFL players, I'm going to back them up 100%, whereas you need to do what's best for you. Much like you guys that are watching this podcast right now, you guys that are on at-will employment, right? You got some employer and you're on at-will employment. They can fire you tomorrow. It's today. You walk into your job, guess what? You're fired. But all of us, without any notice, right? But if you were all of a sudden be like, you know what? I quit on the spot, whatever. You're looked at as a toxic personality. Oh, you didn't give us 2 weeks notice. That was completely rude. What? No, you need to do what's best for you. It's yin and yang, all right? Energy creates energy. You can't sit here and treat people like crap. Other people see that in that community or in that corporation as far as other NFL players, and they're going to see that and say, okay, I'm in this for me. The grave truth or the dark truth about the NFL is Super Bowl championships are great, but at the end of the day, they only care about money. The players do, and they should, rightfully so, whereas baseball and basketball, they take care of their players more as far as the MLB and NBA. They take care of their players more to where it's like, okay, money is great, but also we'll balance that out with, okay, can I win? What are the odds of me winning a championship? These players don't really give a damn about winning the championships, and I don't blame them whatsoever. And when it comes to the New York Jets, if he didn't want to be in New York, that's fine. Not everyone wants to be in New York. This whole idea that New York, you can only be tough if you go to New York and you got to deal with the media. I'm sorry. Who the hell? Look at the landscape in New York sports right now. Look at it. Besides the Yankees that won their last, World Series championship was, what was it, like 6, 7, 8 years ago? However long, okay? Besides that, what do you have? You got the Giants. They won the Super Bowl twice. I'll give you that. Both as wild card entries, and they beat the Patriots both in upsets. But outside of that, the New York, and that was almost a decade ago when that happened. And besides that, you got the New York Knicks, trash. The New York Jets, trash. Now you got Sam Darnold. We'll see how he turns out. But then outside of that, what do you have? The New York sports media, the New York sports landscape, they don't have anything. So this whole idea, well, if you don't come to New York, you're not tough enough. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Seriously. So I don't know, man. I'm going to stick up for Anthony Barr when it comes to this. You need to do what's best for you. He's familiar with Mike Zimmer's system. And you know what? He took a little bit less to come to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I don't think he's worth the money that he's getting paid. But damn it, if someone's going to offer you money that even if someone else thinks that you don't deserve it, then you go out there and take it. The New York Jets, you should move on. You'll be just fine. It's our problem to deal with now. It's my problem. I got to deal with this dude for another at least 2 years before the Vikings have an out in 2021. So I just don't, I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo and say, oh, you need to let them know. And guess what? It's legal tampering. All of a sudden, who's to say it's not? Yes, I get it on an even playing field. If you agree, if you handshake and it's business, you're a man of your word, you do that. Okay, you said you're going to sign, then you sign. But it's the NFL. They screw players all the time. So I'm not mad. I was mad at DeAndre Jordan because I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But when it comes to Anthony Barr in this league, nah, man, all bets are off the table. Owners do what's best for them all the time. GMs do what's best for them all the time without thinking twice. They'll throw a football player out on the streets, their family, they got to move to wherever the hell else, without thinking twice. And all they get is just a pat on the back. Hey, good job. We'll see you on the other side. Come on, man. Players should be able to do the same thing. Keep that same energy. So, you know what? We'll see what happens. Realistic Randy, Mediokr Best Sports Podcast. You can catch this podcast, this Tuesday's podcast on Score North. The next podcast, we do this twice a week, Saturdays, on my personal YouTube channel. Just search Realistic Randy. Twitter, @realistic_Randy. Facebook, @realistic Randy. We will see you on Saturday.